Hey guys, welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Special thanks to all of my patrons. My name's Neil and it's time for the final episode of Arcane. Yes guys, we are at the end of the series and it's a very bittersweet moment for me because I'm not sure I've seen better television in the last couple of years than this run of Arcane. It's that well written, it's incredibly well crafted. I didn't know animation was capable of what this show has shown me, and it's made me reevaluate so much about animation. I've always been a fan, but I've always felt it had limitations, mostly because of budget and time, and I get that this series took 6 years to make. That being said, I also understand that the first couple of years were about refining the look of the show. I really hope there are more seasons of Arcane to follow and that they don't take 6 years for each one. I don't want this to turn into a George R.R. Martin Game of Thrones kind of thing where the fans are waiting constantly for the next book, the next series. So if we can have Arcane in 2023, I'd be amazed. But if you happen to be working on that team in France making this show, do not rush it. Get it right. Do it right. I will wait for amazing as opposed to settling for good, if you know what I mean. Because this first season is amazing, and we are at the final episode. And I think if you're a fan of the game, which I am not, let me reiterate, I've never played League of Legends, but I think if you're a fan of the game, perhaps there were certain beats in this final episode that almost felt inevitable, but I love the fact that the first time I saw this, I was going in blind. I didn't know what was going to happen, and yet it was so well written and plotted over the first 8 episodes that as much as you wanted, for instance, for Jinx and Vi to reconcile and team up, I think that was the wishful thinking part of the fandom crossing their fingers for that. And if you looked at the show in a whole, it became pretty clear that this isn't a show with a happy ending. This is a show about triggering a new terrible set of conditions, including dividing the sisters, opposing them, really setting us up for an amazing season 2. Anyway, we'll talk more about all of that at the end, but I'm excited to jump into it. This is episode 9, the season finale, The Monster You Created.
We're done here.
We haven't even scratched the surface. Silco's still out there.
I am part of this now.
You've always been a part of this. You just never had to look it in the eye. One dead kid? There's hundreds more where he came from.
This is over.
Not for me.
Take those off.
Oh, that tableau
Make
right
me.
there is gorgeous. Make me. He thinks about it for a second.
I can't let you leave with them.
Then I guess
He's
you're gonna
thinking
need
of-
to kill another trencher.
Yeah, Jace doesn't have death in his heart, and he's smart enough to know that she's not the enemy.
You won't make it alone.
Yep. She either needs a Powder or a Caitlyn in her life. So at that point, have we basically destroyed Shimmer production? Between the attack on the factory and then her busting open that tank there? Or can we assume that Shimmer comes back?
Say what you want about the late sheriff. He had his uses. We'll buy another.
They'll buy another sheriff. Who's going to be the next sheriff? I love how the hex cube looks so different now that it's got some blood in it, now that it's got life force in it. Maybe now that it has Sky in it? Like, I don't think Sky's living in there, but Sky has been absorbed into it. And maybe Victor's realizing that? Maybe that's his "you're not worthy" moment. Like, it's taking away his power. It's alive at this point.
Mel, would you like...
March back to your ship and get the hell out of my city.
I taught you better.
Anyone who loves crayfish and prawns knows that the tastiest stuff's on the head side. The tail's nice too, don't get me wrong, but she knows her seafood.
If there is a chance hextech can be weaponized, we must have it.
Piltover isn't your testing ground. I can't believe you'd start a war just to cover your ass.
I would set the world ablaze to protect our family.
I stopped being part of this family the moment you cast me out.
I couldn't endure the look in your eyes whenever I made the decisions, the necessary decisions to keep us safe.
Yeah, so you basically banished your conscience, is what you're saying. I like that the outlets for the aqueducts look a lot like the firelight masks.
Am I interrupting?
Turnabout's fair play.
You have to destroy it. I know. The Hex Core. Please. I promise.
One of the things that really impresses me about Jace is more than once in the course of this series, he's been willing to sacrifice all his work to do the right thing. And I love this scene because I've seen it a couple of times, and I cannot for the life of me decide whether Savika's known the whole time that she's going to take this guy out,
the whole package,
or whether she doesn't decide until the last minute.
Loyalty. Brothers and sisters back to back against whatever the world threw at us.
Today is the day you die, Silco.
That's a risk I've known all my life. But I still believe in loyalty.
Through his whiskey glass and hit her cheek. Goodbye, Finn. See, I love it because I honestly don't think Silco knew which way that was going to go.
Get out.
I think he figured he had an 80% chance of surviving.
Were you tempted?
Not for a worm like him.
Not for him.
But he won't be the last.
Yeah. Sooner or later, she just told him, I'm going to turn on you.
Free trade routes, blanket amnesty, unrestricted access to the Hexgate's sovereignty. You really think you're in a position to demand all this?
The big display followed by a request for parley. You're tipping your hand.
I'm trying to save you from annihilation. You'll discontinue the production of Shimmer.
Half there already.
Return the gemstone. And I need Jinx. She has to pay for what she's done.
They weren't her crimes. She was working for me.
Get me Jinx, and I'll give you your nation of Zon.
It's incredible because he could get everything he wants right here. Everything. Except we already know Jinx is his weakness. It's his blind spot. It's where his heart outweighs his brain when it comes to Jinx.
How were you able to accomplish so much so quickly?
Because we've only got a short life.
Depends on it.
That's Heimerdinger's weakness, is he'll never understand the need to leap ahead. When you live for so long, caution overrides all.
It's not enough to give people what they need to survive. You have to give them what they need to live.
All we ever wanted. And what do I lose but problems? Oh, It all makes sense now, brother.
I really want more backstory. I want the Vander Silco backstory. I love that there's echo graffiti there. I didn't even notice that before. I'm gonna have to freeze frame that. See whose other names are on there.
Anything so one day, as a daughter.
And she's got her shimmer eyes now. Even their coins are beautifully designed. And if we don't know that a fight's coming, there's one on the jukebox LP.
Everyone.
What is it that she threw? Yeah, time to power up. It's an Old West showdown. I mean, this place has already been an Old West saloon type feel, but now it's a shootout at the OK Corral. It's high noon. Was it just one of the helmets or the guards? Is that what she threw down? Time for a drink. I love the art, like the little transitions that they throw into this. It just makes it so cinematic. Yeah. It's a crazy freaking blade Savika's got. And it throws energy. And apparently it's kind of hot. And it can destroy a hextech powered gauntlet. It's so well done. Animated combat often doesn't feel like there's weight to it. It doesn't have physics that feels real.
It gets easier, kiddo. But I'll be lying.
But they nail it here. Spitting out the tooth. I love it. And I love that we get the return of Vander just in her mind there. And she's got shield technology she didn't even know about. Oh, brutal. And that's why Savika isn't a playable character in League of Legends.
Bravo, sis.
After all that.
I'm not fit to govern the people who live there. And neither are you. They're right not to trust us.
You're walking a fine line, Jace.
With respect, I don't give a shit what any of you think of me anymore.
Jace has brokered a peace with Silco in exchange for the Undercity's independence.
What nonsense!
I love the immediate outrage. It just proves their disconnect, their sense of entitlement. And I also love that, you know, I think we've been right to not trust Mel fully this entire time, and yet in this moment, it's as Jay says, she's always been right.
Are we alone?
For now. Maybe forever. He didn't make Jinx. You did.
Are we still sisters?
I love that line's done in the pitch black.
Is ever going to change that?
Pitch black lines.
We're missing someone.
Oh, the Clagger. Yeah. Oh, man. The first time you see... How do you not think that Caitlyn's head is on a platter. How do you not? I didn't even see that Jinx had taken her gloves and painted them up. They even put like a frame of Caitlyn's face in that transition just to make us think maybe we saw it. But no, it's just a cupcake. And Vi does call Caitlyn Cupcake.
It could go away. Please. And you can have Powder back.
Powder, listen. We can just go. We'll leave and never come back.
Her name is Jinx. She's lying. You'll be with her a day before she realizes you aren't that girl anymore.
It's a very interesting what if. What if Vi did eliminate Caitlyn and Jinx became Powder again? Would they be able to reconcile?
They will never understand. It's only us. You're my daughter.
Drop the gun!
Caitlyn's intentions are great, but man, does her timing suck.
Please.
And now she's shimmered up. So fucking tense. Man, she's fast.
Milo! Clagger! Stop, Vander!
Don't listen to her!
Yep. Vi made Jinx. And if you thought she was gone before, this is the second time she's killed her father. And the third time her father has died.
I never would have given you to them. Not for anything.
And I believe it. I don't think there's an ounce of manipulation in those words.
Powder? We'll be okay.
Powder doesn't live here anymore. It's not about choosing between Vi and Silco. It's about choosing between Jinx and Powder, and I think we all know that Powder died probably about when she was painted up on that mural.
You changed too.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's to the new us.
I am the monster you created.
And I hear that shark bazooka is, you know, an iconic part of her look in the game. I think it's cool that it's the hextech that converts her Gatling gun into it.
We'll show them.
We'll show them all.
We will show them all.
What could have been, indeed. Savika's not dead. I forgot that. Not yet, anyway. This makes me so... I look so forward to more Heimerdinger and Echo. Yep, there they are.
What could have been?
Man. It's such a brilliant ending. Obviously, there's a ton to set up a season 2. How many people in that council room survive? We know Jason, Mel, and Victor are all in there, plus all our other counselors. You have to imagine that most of them die, but at the same time, some are going to survive. And there's this really weird thing. Is Mel just really aware? But she had sort of a Spidey sense moment there just before impact, and the way it was animated was almost as if her outfit was like shimmering or giving off a little warning or something. But maybe it's just one of those, prescient moments where you sense that something's about to happen and you turn before it does. So I'm hoping that Mel and Jace and Victor survive that. But what's not going to survive is this newly voted on peace. We know that that's not going to make it. And the fact that Silco is dead certainly ruins any chance of a future there. Silco's such an amazing character. It's so hard. I mean, he's got a genuine heart, and he had the chance to have everything he's fought for his entire life, an independent nation of Zon, and he sacrificed all of that for the love of his adopted daughter. That's 100% real. You come at me if you think otherwise, but I 100% believed every word of his at the very end there, as he was dying to Jinx. I would never have turned you in. You're perfect the way you are. I 100% believe he believes that, and he wouldn't have done it. But I also think Jinx is right in that he thinks he made her. And no, Vi did it in that moment of weakness when Vander died, and Vi lashed out at Powder, screamed at her, slapped her, ran away. That betrayal in Powder, the worst moment in Powder's life, so much to, perhaps it could have been mended if she went back, but obviously Marcus took her away, locked her up. In swooped Silco, and at that point I don't think you can ever remedy that. In that final scene at the table, Vi tells Jinx, "I'll never leave you again," and Jinx says, "You never left me. You were always there, whispering in my ear. I always heard your voice." We always saw the Milo and the Clagger voices, ghosts haunting her, whispering in her ear. We heard those voices, but there's a Vi voice too in Jinx's head, messing Jinx up. This is a perfect season of television, guys. I can't stop raving about it. It's incredibly well written. It's incredibly well performed. It's beautifully animated. It's one of the best things I've ever seen, and I really look forward to more. And when season 2 comes out, I'll be doing a live reaction to it as opposed to a rewatch commentary. So I think that's going to be something exciting to look forward to. Hopefully it pops up in less than a couple of years, but whenever it does, I'll be ready for it. Thank you guys for joining me on this. What I'm hoping that this really does is, from everything I'm hearing from Netflix, is that this is a hit show for them. It is worthwhile for them to invest this heavily into this level of animation, this level of production. And if that's the case, perhaps it will motivate Netflix and other streaming services to invest in other similar projects. I've watched some other reactors do Arcane, and many of them, the vast majority of them, are not League of Legends savvy. They did not play the game, but they still came to the series and watched it and loved it just like me. I never played the game either. So you don't need to count on a show like this only bringing in the existing fans. You can create new fans, and that's a really lucrative business opportunity that is great for us, the fans, because it means we get great content. So I'm really hoping that this gives production companies the faith in similar properties, more video games turned into real quality productions like this. Whether they're animated or live action doesn't matter, but it means you can make this prestige projects out of video game properties, about video game lore. So it's impossible not to start thinking about your dream projects. I'm a huge fan of open sandbox games that you can spend literally hundreds of hours in. I probably spent 2,000 hours playing both Skyrim and Fallout 4. And I know that a Fallout series live action series has been in, I'm not sure if they've gone to production yet, but it's been in development for the last year and a half or so. And I think they're starting production around now, if they haven't started already. So I am crossing my fingers, looking forward to that, really hoping that they put enough into it that they're not going to screw it up. That's always the biggest fear when you're a huge fan of a property and you hear it's being done in a new medium, and you just hope they don't screw it up. You know, I had read all the Song of Ice and Fire books prior to Game of Thrones coming out on HBO, and my friends and I who were big Song of Ice and Fire fans, we were crossing our fingers, hoping that HBO wouldn't screw it up. I mean, we were encouraged that it was going on HBO and it sounded like they had a big budget, but the possibility still existed that they wouldn't do it justice. Clearly they did it justice. So I'm hoping the same for Fallout. Please don't screw it up. Please don't screw it up. I'm hoping the same for Sandman. Obviously a comic book property, not a video game, but Netflix is making Sandman, and I'm crossing my fingers. Please don't screw it up, because it's my favorite comic of all time, and it'd be devastating if it turned into a mediocre television show. Other video games that I'm excited to see the lore developed. How cool is it there's an Uncharted movie coming out? Tom Holland in the title role of Nathan Drake. That's going to be really cool. I think that's got a ton of potential. It's almost disappointing that it's just a movie. How bizarre is that the biggest properties you wish there would be more screen time, and therefore turn them into TV series, make more happen. Like, can you really tell an Uncharted story in 2 hours? Obviously they're going to try, but I hope they do it justice, and I hope it feels like the video game. That's always the hope, right? Give me a Skyrim series. Give me an Assassin's Creed series. Give me a Grand Theft Auto animated series. I mean, you could totally do Grand Theft Auto live action, but that's basically the Fast and the Furious. But are you telling me GTA 5 with those iconic characters wouldn't be an amazing animated series too? And I think you could have even more fun with it if it were animated. There would be, I feel like there would be production limitations if you tackled some of these as live action, and those limitations go away if you've got the time and the money to invest in the animation. I'd love to hear what you guys think would make amazing new TV series based on video games. What would you hope to see the most? Leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've enjoyed what I've been doing here, guys, consider supporting the channel. The best way to do that is checking out my Patreon. You guys know the drill by now. Patreon.com/NeilTalks. You get early access, you get full-length reactions, and you can vote on future projects. And until next time, everybody, take care, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.